Nostalgia is a powerful force, an incredible feeling as we reflect on a memory, but sometimes it's just damn comical. And I love the feeling of nostalgia in pop culture, films in particular. I watched and rewatched some phenomenal classics such as Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Jurassic Park, and I still get chills and reflect back to certain moments in time when I was watching those movies. But at the same time, as children, we don't always have the best taste. And with this new series I'll do off and on, I'm going to revisit some of my most watched films in my life, particularly from my childhood. And some are, of course, good films, such as the first two films that I named, but some films are Crocodile from 2000. So, welcome to the entertainment room, where I'm starting off this series with a little horror film that I just need to talk about. I watched it for the first time in years recently to see why this one was one that I watched again and again and again. And I used to watch a lot of movies with a grandfather of mine before he passed away in 2005, and it was a great shared activity despite the fact that most of them were trashy, low-budget horror films. Like this one. So growing up, it took a while for me to find this one online, because I always watched this film on a recorded VHS tape with a label on it that read alligator instead of crocodile. Easy mistake. I still don't know the fucking difference, to be honest with you. So please allow me to take a trip down memory lane as I review this mess of a movie and break down why I still find enjoyment in it years later despite its incompetencies. Incompetencies that I will still absolutely make fun of here. Believe it or not, Crocodile was directed by the legendary Tobe Hooper. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2, Poltergeist, Life Force. Crocodile? No? Okay. And after this rewatch, it is a terrible movie, obviously, but I still have not grown to hate it. It's stupid fun. There are better bad, guilty pleasure options, but I kinda like parts of this film. Even if some of it is just plain nostalgia, and other parts are just laughing at all the dumb shit that I never questioned when I was younger. And obviously I will not trash Tobe Hooper. He was a massively talented director. He did make this bad film, but despite this being just another crocodile B-horror film, I still find a lot of entertainment value in it. And I still rewatch it. So if you're with the right group of people, or just love bad horror films because they're fun to laugh at, you could be in for quite an evening. My main critique for Crocodile for what it is I don't think it is completely self-aware. Some moments are definitely played out for that campiness and some laughs, but I don't think it leans into that aspect nearly enough, particularly with some of the melodrama in a few scenes and just some scenes being a bit more drug out. Take Lake Placid, for example. It was by no means a great movie, but it knew what it was and just sprinted with it, and built a decent fan base because of it. Not to mention the inclusion of Betty White gracing their cast. But anyways, I did gravitate towards slashers and monster flicks, especially when I was younger, because they were fast-paced, characters constantly getting picked off in different ways, and you definitely get that here. As a kid, I of course gave no fucks about special effects, decent characters, of course storytelling, none of that. And I still don't care now when it comes to this film. So here we'll run through some plot points and give my thoughts along the way. If you love fast-paced, mindless, low-budget B-horror, give it a try if you find it for free or for very cheap somewhere. I'm not sure how much of the funny moments are intentional, but that won't stop you from laughing either way. But anyways, let's dive right in. So a group of college kids go on spring break to a lake for some drunk fun on the water. Unbeknownst to them, Killer Croc. Standard. The characters you won't care much about likely, but do you really need to? But I'll mention most of their names anyway, so I won't just keep saying that woman, that guy, that jackass. But we do open the film with Brody and Duncan driving to the lake. The opening topic of conversation, comparing pizza to sex. Classic. Another vehicle with more of their friends shoot them with water guns, and we get some clear sexual tension between Brody and a woman named Sunny. And we get a little history. So Brody cheated on his long-distance girlfriend Claire with Sunny. Claire still does not know, and she is also on the way to join them and meet Brody's friends for the first time. How fun for her. So already, 3 main characters already suck ass. Especially Duncan with his shitty red spray-painted Joey Fatone from NSYNC hair. He's not only a shit friend, he's just shit. My memory made me think Duncan was the main source of comedy in this film growing up. Outspoken, boisterous, doesn't take life too seriously. And while those adjectives are pretty much true, he's really just a major douchebag, if you can't tell already. He not only lacks concern about Brody's infidelity, he's also the one to invite Sunny on the trip, without even giving Brody a heads up. For fun. So they all arrive, get beer, and the overly serious movie sheriff who hates smiling and fun lays down the law. And one of the friends has this fluffy-ass ankle-biter named Princess. Poor dog. And this little yappy-ass thing, this bark this dog had is ingrained in my memory. Years later, when I think of this film, when it just randomly pops up into my head, I hear this bark instantly. So anyways, they hang out, these college kids who look about 40 years old, and their friend Kit drives them around on a boat. Later that night, they make a fire in the woods, and we transition to our first kill scene. 2 fishermen go out, ignore the no fishing signs, and come across a nest with gargantuan, dinosaur-looking eggs. For most of us, I would like to think that if we came across eggs like this, I believe we would probably dip out immediately. But for these 2 mouth breathers, you pick them up and you throw them at each other, because that's what 50 to 60-year-old men do while out fishing. And with their deaths, the special effects of this croc, the CGI, they're piss poor, as you can imagine. There's actually a decent starting jump scare, I would say, with the first man being unexpectedly snatched into the water. So it looks okay, but maybe my favorite thing about this scene is the other guy's idea of escape. He runs to the car. Good start. Opens the door. Okay. Crawls into the driver's seat. Awesome. Then to the passenger's side. Wait. And my favorite part is that when he crawls to the passenger side for no reason, he leaves the driver's door open so he can serve himself up on this leathery platter so our monster can redecorate the car's interior. What the fuck was he thinking? But I guess for a slow hillbilly like him, I shouldn't expect much more than that. But for a $20 feeling budget, not the worst B-horror intro to our monster. But back to our bumbling protagonist, they do try and do the bare minimum with giving this movie a story, some background. So Kit gives us the exposition with the history of the lake being named after a famous legend. Lake Sobek is the name of this lake. He points out a large old hotel that is definitely, convincingly, really there and not just hilariously green screened in. But the story is Harlan Clemens built this hotel and imported a crocodile named Flat Dog. No, I'm serious. But yes, this is the crocodile the pharaohs rode into battle. Harlan sets up a cult for Flat Dog to try and harness the powers of the croc god Sobek. Harlan is run out of town for his unchristian ways. Flat Dog laid eggs in the hotel lobby somewhere. Harlan's 8-year-old son was angry with his father and smashed all the eggs and went missing. Flat Dog spends its days going to the hotel, trying to find her eggs. So, yeah. I said they tried. And I do think at least part of this is an actual legend, the story he told. Not sure how much. But does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So the next day brings more lake fun. We see shots of Flat Dog, watching, stalking, waiting, and Princess leads them to the broken eggs from the night before. All broken except one. And Claire wants to leave it, but she is mocked by the Joey Fatone wannabe for such an idea. One of the other guys sneaks the egg into Claire's bag. Brody sees this and lazily confronts him about it, but he is brushed off. Yeah, yeah, Brody. Colossal egg of unknown origins in your girl's bag. Don't take 5 seconds to take it out. Let it hatch and break. Fucking dickhead. So we are treated to awkward zero-chemistry romance between Claire and Brody, where he outright denies any attraction to Sunny when he is teased about it. But night falls later on, and Sunny drunkenly exposes the secret after she gets a little too close and personal with Brody in front of everyone. So Brody gets to sleep outside, but not before we get to witness this really awful, melodramatic crying performance. And at this point, I truly realized how much I do not care about any of these characters. The couple with the boat seems like okay people, but we don't really learn much about them. Others are douchebags, especially Claire, who has done nothing wrong to any of them. And Claire is really the only true protagonist, I think, but I'm sorry, even with all the other bad performances, she is the only one who has to give a couple emotional performances, such as this fight with Brody, and it really doesn't work. I know the actress was trying, but it just was not a convincing effort. Just very flat and soap opera-ish. But all of them are honestly disposable for the most part, which is mostly fine for this type of movie. A little more characterization, or at least some more over-the-top humor and performances could have helped, but you get what you get. So we get our third death when one of the friends named Hubs goes to drunk puke over the side of the deck, but Flat Dog generously helps him avoid the inevitable morning hangover by swiftly engulfing him, as well as about a fourth of the dock. Everyone is plastered so no one hears any of this, and the rope tying the boat to the dock was also eaten, so they all drift across the lake into the night. And one compliment I will give is, again, despite the poor sound design and the special effects of the crocodile most of the time, still not the worst jump scare with that attack, I guess, if I have to point out something positive. Everyone wakes up the following morning with a distraction for their hangovers, and that is their new location. Weeds and shit are tangled in the boat's propellers, so they are stranded. Claire still refuses to talk to Brody, and Duncan, being the all-star friend that he is, offers a little revenge sex to her, to which she slaps him across the face. Probably one of the best moments of the whole movie. Interwoven with their confusion and panic is the sheriff investigating the deaths of the two fishermen and now the damaged dock. Back to Brody in his sad boy hour, sitting on his own somewhere a little ways down from the boat. He is sulking, but he is instantly rerouted by Sunny, who approaches him, and she does apologize for everything. But then she pulls the same shit by stripping down and inviting Brody into the water. And of course the hopeless dumbass looks interested for a second before Flat Dog emerges and breaks this painful shit up, thankfully, with her distinct roar, and they run back to the boat just for it to be destroyed. And one of the characters, apparently named Foster, is also eaten after failing to do any damage to Flat Dog with a fire axe. And one thing with this attack is that I noticed with the close-up practical effects of the crocodile, they're not half bad. I don't hate them. Especially for the budget, I would say it's even acceptable. So we now transition again to the sheriff visiting a gator farm owned by a guy named Shurkin, who is just the most disgusting character ever, with what I'm guessing is about 12 ounces of dip in his lip at all times. And the sheriff asks for advice and knowledge on what they're dealing with. He even lets Shurkin touch and pick up the head of one of the dead fishermen to observe the damage, even though I am certain that that was highly unnecessary. Especially when his only main follow-up to doing this is saying that whatever ate him is simply pissed off, not hungry, or else she would have finished the meal. There's also Lester, who works under Shurkin and has a fresh hand injury after brushing a gator's teeth. He did not fucking deserve that hand, did he? But apparently Lester has been feeding Flat Dog in secret, hoping to harness the powers of Sobek so he can kill Shurkin and take over the farm. Which I can't imagine going any better than a toddler being a doctor. But he gets a little snappy with Flat Dog. She takes his tone personally, and she eats him. Supposedly. As all we see is an ugly-ass POV shot of Flat Dog, or just the camera zooming in, rapidly, tilting side to side as he holds his face and screams. The shot is horrendously awkward and poorly just designed. It just makes no sense. I did not get the stylistic choice here. But back to our 50-year-old college students. Even with adrenaline, they are now hours later past the time the boat was destroyed and this attack happened. I'm going to assume 10 to 11 a.m. at the latest when all this went down. It is now pitch black, and they're still able to scream and argue with the same energy like it all just went down 5 minutes ago. And they have some goddamn stamina. And I've mentioned this in other reviews, but I'm typically more patient with some extended arguing and yelling to a certain extent in horror films because people do react in different ways in high cortisol situations. But something about this, maybe the timeline, like I mentioned, it was especially grating. But thankfully, Flat Dog interjects pretty quickly. Flat Dog is really starting to feel like the protagonist here. And we are introduced to the sneak attack by seeing Princess, the dog, sitting on something which turns out to be Flat Dog's snout. Horrible instincts and awareness from a dog. But I suppose it was an unexpected transition, so the directing choice wasn't too bad, I guess. But it rapidly goes downhill from this reveal, with atrocious shaky cam as they run away combined with these grainy, awful slow-motion shots of Flat Dog's tail, moving side to side as she is in pursuit. And they really could have left it there as far as how much of the croc that we see, but no. They elect for an infuriatingly ugly CGI crocodile. Holy shit, it looks bad. It just looks bad. If you think the Xenomorph in Alien 3 was ugly in the CGI running scenes, or even the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns, the CGI is nearly on that same level, and one of those movies I mentioned was even older than this film. But Brody's mistress gets her foot stuck and is served sunny side up to Flat Dog as Claire gives her best crying performance yet, as she pretends to be heartbroken by what she is seeing. And now I get it, despite the affair, she is seeing another human die in front of her, but I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it felt like she was milking it just a little bit. The rest make it to this general store and lock themselves in, just for Flat Dog to give her best Kool-Aid Man entrance as she bursts through the wall. Kit's girlfriend, whose name I am blanking on, is eaten. Duncan is even bitten on the leg, but not killed off for some reason. But then Kit is blown up by a gas barrel that was hit when he was trying to get a truck started outside. So we are left with Claire, Brody, Duncan, and Princess. The fucking dream team. And it's daytime again. Sheriff and Shurkin are on a boat searching for this beast. And we get this intense moment equipped with serene spa music. As we get long shots of the scenery, the trees, the murky-ass water. I'm just so happy that they're trying so hard to keep the intensity up after that tragic night. But anyways, the survivors flag them down, and we're treated to the sight of Brody and Claire pushing the injured Duncan in a wheelbarrow. And now, I know they had limited options for transporting him, but it doesn't make this sight less funny. And Duncan is angry with them, because they aren't pushing him well enough. And now I understand the stress of the situation, but some friends are not good friends and may just leave your ass behind to avoid the enormous crocodile that ate your other friends. And there's only 2 of your friends left. One of them doesn't fucking like you. So maybe after a while it's time to maybe hold your tongue a bit before your ass gets tipped over and left. Why is Duncan still fucking alive? Side note, Duncan has had a terrible time with insects. So he's been using bug spray. Lots of it. Sound random? Don't worry, it is hilariously relevant later. So they're all on the boat, but not for long. Flat Dog snatches Shurkin after he falls off the boat, and then we get one of the best shots of the entire film. And I'm not excusing how bad this looks. They knew their limitations with their budget, and they did this shit anyway. Intentionally funny or not, I don't like it. So our CGI crocodile, for no reason, jumps out of the water, over the boat, and back into the water. Didn't grab anyone or anything, just did it for fun, I guess. Her own version of a victory lap, maybe? I don't know. So yeah, if you thought the running crocodile looks bad, she also does acrobatic jumps. They really want us to know that shit is really hitting the fan now. Moving on. The sheriff is also eaten when trying to start the boat back up, and our heroes jump ship and head back to land where they just were. So they're essentially now out of resources and sacrifices, but don't worry, Brody has a plan. He grabs Claire's bag, pulls out a pocket knife in the egg that is still somehow intact after all this time. Claire was still oblivious to the existence of the egg in her bag, and asked him why he didn't tell her. His response: she was mad at him and not talking to him. A couple notes. She was not mad at him at this point. She found out about the infidelity later that night, making this a plot hole technically, but even more than that, even if she was mad at him, how hard is it to take 5 seconds to remove a mysterious fat-ass egg from an unattended bag? Or, if you don't want to touch her stuff without her knowing because she's mad at you, he could have at least done like a quick walk by, I don't know, said, hey, they put that giant T-Rex egg in your bag. Just thought you should know. Fucking idiot. But anyways, the big plan. This finale is fantastic. The perfect fuck it ending to an incompetent monster flick. And this is also the one time we can relate to Duncan because as Brody is explaining this plan, we just hear Duncan in the background laughing hysterically. So Brody grabs 2 branches and ties them to clothes to make a blindfold. His inspiration for this brilliance, the Australian guy from Animal Planet, does it all the time. Then they put the egg out in the open, they hide with sharpened sticks, hence the importance of the pocket knife, and then we get one of the best POV shots in cinema history. Flat Dog is in the water, approaching slowly, and from her perspective, we clearly see all 3 of these 55-year-old college students basically in plain sight, hiding behind a couple of twigs that they want to call bushes. Just the saddest looking bare bushes ever. It kind of reminds me of that picture of Shaquille O'Neal pretending to hide from the paparazzi by hiding behind a very skinny tree with 75% of his 7'1" figure still in view. But here they were actually thinking they were hiding. And it just keeps getting better from here. So as Flat Dog gets to land, Brody decides to charge and is promptly knocked back. And then he hits his head on a rock, knocking him out as opposed to knocking some sense into him. Then Princess surges out of nowhere, runs horizontally through the croc's mouth, but makes it to the other side before it chomps down. Then she just fucks off again. Thanks for the parkour show, doggo. It was a huge help to everybody. So Duncan jumps on the snout, and then is flipped up and swallowed whole. So that's the end of Duncan, right? Pfft, hell no. Why would it be? So remember the thing I said earlier about the bug spray? Well, Flat Dog doesn't like that and promptly vomits him up. They could have just let his ass die. The writers have some hard-on for Duncan. I don't get it. They faked us out twice with his death. Faked us out twice with the worst character in the whole movie. But moving on, Claire improvises and grabs the egg and holds it out. Maybe she recalled Kit's story about the legend and she just wants to give the egg back. Why she holds it out versus putting it on the ground and stepping back, I'll never know. But Claire's just, she's just so generous. She was willing not only to return the child, but also her arms as a sorry gift. But the egg hatches, revealing a baby croc. Flat Dog scoops it up and swims away, leaving our character staring on. Duncan somehow has still not bled out from his leg injury, and they live happily ever after. Crocodile 2000. So I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to share all the beautiful, well thought out details of this movie. A movie that I've seen now 24 or more times over the course of my life. Can you see why? So even with all my criticisms and awareness that this film sucks, it just keeps getting worse and worse, but it made the viewing experience better and better, more and more fun. You may disagree, and that's fine, but this is not a boring film to me. Now I wouldn't give this a good score obviously, but it's an excellent guilty pleasure if these types of films work for you in a similar way that it does for me. And you can tell they had some decent ideas here and there with some of the jump scares, but with the budget, the lack of charisma with the actors, it's just going to be hard to nail that execution. So on a technical scale, I'd probably have to give this, like a 3.5 out of 10. But on an entertainment scale though, I might even bump it up to 6 to 6.5. Take that however you please. It's a Crocodile movie. They're rarely good ones, so you get maybe what you expect. So that's my first film of this series. Films that I've seen the most of my life. For part 2, I will try and pick a good movie, so you don't start to think that my taste was complete crap. But it's fun to reflect on the past and even laugh at your decisions. And this is honestly some of the most fun I've had so far with this podcast, and I hope that any listeners had a good time as well and want to hear more. Has anybody else seen this film, or do you at least not want to watch it now that I've ran through it? Because trust me, it's much better in person. So let me know. Follow me on my social media. Listen on Spotify and or YouTube. Like, subscribe, whatever, if you want to hear more. I'm also now starting to post pretty consistently on TikTok as well, doing quick movie reviews and lists, so stay tuned for more content. And I'll see you next time on The Entertainment Room.